Welcome, everyone, to this Professional Development Hour presentation brought to you proudly by the Atlanta Metro chapter of the Georgia Society of Professional Engineers, an affiliate of the National Society of Professional Engineers. Before we begin, we'd like to let you know that any opinions presented tonight are solely the opinions of the presenter and not that of the Georgia Society of Professional Engineers, the National Society of Professional Engineers, or any other of its affiliates. We certainly hope you will enjoy tonight's presentation, so sit back and relax, and on with the show.
Ready? All right, everyone. We're going to get started with a presentation. Tonight's presentation is advancing manufacturing in Georgia since 1960. Our speaker is Damon, and he is with the Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and I'll let him introduce himself. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Your organization today. So yeah, I am going to give a talk. I'll give a little bit of my background, but I will be talking about the not going to be a highly technical conversation, but talk about a resource here in the state of Georgia that comes from Georgia Tech, serving manufacturers, and give some background on the manufacturing industry, how we serve manufacturers, how we help them grow and support economic development across the state of Georgia. And so I'm Damon Nix. I am have a couple roles. Like a lot of us, we have more than one hat. I am a group manager for the Energy and Sustainability Services team at the Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership. I'm also the manager of our development program, so I help oversee a lot of our grant and award activity, so supervise that. So. But I've been with the Georgia MEP across a few stints since 2013 and been involved in manufacturing extension work for really most of the last 20 years in some shape, form, or fashion. So tonight, just want to introduce you to the Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership at Georgia Tech and give a little bit of the background. I feel like Georgia Tech, as you may or may not know, is born out of a necessity to really transform the southern economy and the agricultural economy and move it towards an industrial economy. And this program, while it's technically only been around in some shape, form, or fashion since 1960, is really probably the truest thing to the origins of Georgia Tech, in that we are literally an organization that is focused on progress and service, the motto of Georgia Tech. In the state of Georgia, focused on developing, supporting economic development and supporting small industry, particularly across the state. So, trying to continue those origins with Georgia Tech. So, the Georgia MEP, Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership, we're a little different. We don't teach students. We're not comprised of PhDs and engineering professors. We're a group of practicing professionals, engineers primarily, scientists, some business professionals as well. But we are, there's about 50 of us at the Georgia MEP right now. I'll give a little more background on that in a second. But we are part of what we call the Enterprise Innovation Institute. So at Georgia Tech, there's the academics, right? You know the school. There's, 20,000 students at Georgia Tech that are part of the school. There are probably another 10,000 graduate students. There's untold number of professors and research assistants and all that. And that's a big portion of Tech. That's what most people think of when you think about Georgia Tech. Then there's another portion that's the Georgia Tech Research Institute. That's another really big organization. They employ thousands of professionals focused on applied research. They do a lot of DoD work, a lot of technology development. And those two organizations represent over $1 billion in research endeavors on an annual basis, mostly focused at a global, national, and a global level, and really proud of those organizations. They help. Georgia Tech reputation is continuing to grow over the years. Our group, we work a little different space. So there's $1 billion there. We're part of the Enterprise Innovation Institute, which is the portion of Georgia Tech that is focused here in the state. So we're a lot smaller group. We got a lot less folks, but we are totally dedicated to serving industry and business here in the state of Georgia. So we operate partially. We operate as part of. We have a few different funding sources. There's a federal mandate. We're part of the national network of manufacturing extension partnerships. We have some funding from the Department of Commerce. We have, luckily in our state, the state legislature has been very gracious in providing funding for our efforts to support manufacturers throughout the state. So we have a little funding there. And then another portion of what we do is funded by manufacturers themselves. So through the work we do, the projects, training, and other activities. So as part of the federal activity, we are one of 51 centers across the country. So the Georgia Manufacturing Extension is here in Georgia, but if you go to Tennessee, if you go to Florida, if you go to North Carolina, you go to Washington, Hawaii, go to Puerto Rico, you're going to find a manufacturing extension partnership there in those states fulfilling the same kind of mission, focused on serving small manufacturers, medium-sized manufacturers across those states and territories. So, but at Georgia Tech, we're focused on the state of Georgia, and we're not just in Atlanta. We are everywhere. We've divided the state sort of into 10 regions. We have offices all across the state. We have folks in Cartersville and Rome. We have folks we have someone in St. Mary's, exit 2. If you go all the way down to the bottom, we've got folks staffed there. We've got folks in Savannah, of course. We have an office in Tifton. We've at various times had offices in Dublin. We have folks on the west side in Carrollton, in Columbus, and LaGrange. And obviously we have a lot of folks in the metro area as well. But our goal is to serve the entire state. So in that effort, we're distributed. We have region managers and project managers all over the state so that we can be wherever manufacturers are across the state, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. So, and as I said, we've been doing this for about 65 years. 1960, the state legislature established a industrial extension effort. And so we've had various names across the years, but somewhere in the 90s, we became the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, but it's been an ongoing legacy of serving manufacturers. So, manufacturing is really important to the state of Georgia. While everyone thinks about agriculture is certainly one of the biggest industries. Manufacturing is right up there in terms of the next one of the largest economic drivers here in the state of Georgia, and really growing. Think about all the activity that's happening down in Savannah at the port. We're seeing a lot of growth in automotive. We're seeing growth in all these industries related to automotive as well. We're seeing growth in aerospace and a number of other factors. We have a huge and thriving food manufacturing industry, which makes sense because we have a large agricultural base. What are you going to do with that? You got to process those things. So, but there are more than 8,000 manufacturers in the state of Georgia. There's probably actually a lot more than that if you count all the 1- and 2-person companies that are out there that are just starting or getting started, or maybe they're deer processors. Those count too. So, but in terms of sort of establishments, 10 plus employee kind of companies, you're looking at 8,000 plus manufacturers across the state of Georgia. Most of those manufacturers employ less than 100 people. In fact, probably 75 to 80% employ less than 50 people. So these aren't huge outfits. We think about, the larger manufacturers, your Kubotas. You think about, obviously, you think about Coca-Cola. That's a really big outfit here in the state. We think about now we think about Hyundai down in the south, in the coastal region, and so we have a lot of large manufacturers to think about. But most, by and large, most of our manufacturers are actually quite small, but they're critically important. They do important work. They work in the supply chains of larger industries, or they're supporting the local economies where they are. And so these manufacturers don't always have the same resources that Lockheed Martin or some other group is going to have. They don't have stacks of engineers and process improvement specialists and folks to help them solve all their problems. And so that's really where we spend our time. We spend our time working with those smaller manufacturers, a lot of them under 100 employees, under 50. We do work with some larger groups, larger manufacturers, but by and large, we are on the ground working with those companies that are often critically important to their local economies in rural regions of the state, as well as here in the metro. So manufacturing at large contributes about $82 billion. We have a really large export contribution from our manufacturing industry here in the state. And as you can see, about 425,000 people have jobs in the manufacturing industry. I'm not sure what the total workforce number is in Georgia right now, but somewhere around 1 in 10 people probably work in manufacturing or manufacturing affiliated. If we had warehousing and logistics, is all sort of part of the same family. Manufacturing plays an important role here. Manufacturing jobs are good jobs too. That's one of the things we'll talk about at the end about a program we're working on right now. But these manufacturing jobs have a real, there's a value chain to them. They are, obviously if you're in the manufacturing industry, you're bringing in inputs, you're creating outputs, but the jobs are higher paying. We're seeing, even starting wages close to $20 an hour, even in places like Northwest Georgia. They often, 90% of manufacturers offer benefits, insurance, and for retirement plans and these kind of things. Even small manufacturers offer those. So jobs in manufacturing are important to creating stability, for transformation of people's lives, and they're important to local economies. So that's why we're here, to make sure they stay thriving, successful, healthy. They're growing, they're taking on new challenges, they're evolving over the years and decades. And so that's really, the manufacturers are our mission here in the state of Georgia. At Georgia Tech, one of the objectives is internally, one of our big objectives is something we call Project 159, and it's to have an impact on all 159 counties in the state of Georgia. I'm sure everybody knows we have 159 counties. It's sort of crazy. I think they just divided it up everywhere. I lived in Washington for a couple years. They had, I think they had 34 counties. I could actually memorize them. I'm learning about new counties all the time, and I've been doing this for 20-something years in Georgia. So I think some of them changed names just to confuse us. But no, there are a lot of counties. There's a lot of different regions, a lot of different kind of activities going on in places. But we, as an organization, the Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership, have actually worked in 144 of the 159 counties just in the last few years. We're everywhere. Sometimes we talk about we're sometimes the face of Georgia Tech. If you're in South Georgia or Central Georgia or wherever, we're probably the representatives of Georgia Tech that people see and actually meet. And so it's a privilege and an honor to be able to serve so much of the state. So we're working on getting to all 159 counties, and so we'll continue to pursue that challenge. And I've mentioned the number of folks we have out and about, distributed across our state. We've got a lot of manufacturers to serve with just about 50 people. So we've got 8,000 manufacturers and 50 folks. So we've got a lot on our plate to try to reach as many as we can. I'm going to apologize. I didn't. There are words on this slide.
They can see them.
Okay, they're watching it. Yeah, they're a little washed out, so I'll try to fill in the blanks. But I didn't think of the gold color. We like our white and gold, right, at Georgia Tech, but it doesn't always translate right off the page in the room. So, but no, we track our impacts. We survey all of our projects. We actually have a third-party group that surveys all the project work we do around the state. So we keep a really good set of, we're interested in the results. We're interested in the impacts. We're interested in how are we helping create jobs, how are we supporting growth, economic growth for our manufacturers, how are we supporting investment around the state. So we are always measuring constantly. Actually, on a quarterly basis, we do a push to make sure we're surveying projects that we've completed in the last year, 6 months to a year. And the results are pretty good. Just in 2024, it's early in 2025, so I don't have the most I don't have the 2025 numbers, but they're actually better than 24. 2024, we were able to serve about 1,350 manufacturers through either direct projects. Usually we do about 400 direct projects a year, so that's like a consulting engagement. We may help a company, maybe small or large, but we're helping the company solve a problem. We do a lot of training, as you can imagine. I'll share some of the topics in a little bit. We do a lot of training. We reach more people through that. We do a lot of engagement around the state. We do quarterly lunch and learn type activities called manufacturing growth meetings. So we meet a lot of manufacturers that way and provide some education and learning, ongoing learning for manufacturers and their employees. But able to serve 1,350. That's pretty good market penetration for a group of 50 people in a state with 8,000 manufacturers. We supported the creation of 1,100 new jobs in manufacturing in the last year. And these are all numbers reported by the manufacturers. They're not numbers we've generated. Well over 10 million in cost savings. I think the number for new and retained sales is about 350, 360 million that we help companies either help them identify, help them improve their capacity so they can access new sales, help them access new sales channels, or actually help them stay in the sales channels they're in by helping them maintain their ISO registration or get an ISO registration or whatever it may be. Yes, yeah.
I have a question. I'm just kind of curious. I know you said you have like 8,000 manufacturers and stuff, but only 50 people. How would you kind of manage that? That's usually like that's a big ratio.
Yeah, it is. No, yeah, it's great. Yeah, we do that. Unfortunately, we can't serve them all. They don't all know about us. That's one of the first things you sort of mark out. That's why I'm here talking today. Hopefully, you'll tell folks about the Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership. It is, as I didn't do a good job describing it maybe, but we're part of a big institute that's well known, but we're in a very little niche group that serves the state. And so we, like I said, we've got 50 people. They're distributed around the state. That's for one. We have region managers in every region who've been developing relationships for decades with the manufacturers in their area. A lot of our region managers have been with us for 20 plus years. When we get a new one, it's always like, oh, we got nervous. It's a big change. We got to introduce a new person to that region of the state. Hopefully, they're from there. So, but no, it's a big challenge. We'd love to be able to serve all the manufacturers. Realize that everybody's going to want our help, but we're proud to be able to serve, the 1,350 we served in the last year. So, but a big part of it is being present. Right? So we're in the state. Our people live in the state. We're developing relationships in each region that are unique to the region and understanding the unique types of manufacturing and the unique cultures even of the environments. And so it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Yeah. If anybody wants to go to the legislature and tell them to bump our line item up, yeah, we can get a few more people.
What's a typical consulting engagement? How long does it last? At the risk of jumping ahead.
No, it's fine. No, I'm going a little slower than I would like to. So our typical consulting engagements, it's hard to call anything typical because sometimes there's a series, but we're often in a company for, say, 3 to 5 days to complete some sort of meaningful task, to help them with a Kaizen event, to improve a process, do a rapid process improvement. Or maybe we're there through a series of engagements of, say, 3 to 5 plus days to help them audit a quality management system. If we're helping them with a technology roadmap, if they're looking to upgrade their equipment or add sensors or more advanced technology, that could be several engagements over months and months, really, as we work with them. So it's hard to call typical, unfortunately. It's a good engineering answer, though, right? It depends. It depends. So, but no, it's a good question. A lot of our clients, we have repeat. That's a big important thing for us, is to make sure we're continuing our relationship with folks. We don't want to just go somewhere, do one thing, leave it alone and go away. We want to help companies who are interested in our services achieve something transformative, and so, but often it'll start with one little engagement. They get to know us, and then it grows from there, and we get to do more things. So we have a few different service areas that we focus on. Operational excellence, that's one of our groups. Strategy, leadership, and technology, and then energy and sustainability services, which I mentioned. I actually was a group manager of operational excellence team a few years back, so I've been in a few of these groups. So, but our operational excellence team, we help manufacturers with things like implementing lean manufacturing, process improvement concepts. We help manufacturers implement quality management systems like ISO 9000. We help on the shop floor, creating programs like Managing for Daily Improvement, which basically help create communication and measurement systems on the plant floor for small manufacturers to help them do a better job of daily engagement, measuring, identifying problems, and actually solving problems to get better. We have some experts in the food arena, obviously, as well, since that's such a huge manufacturing sector here in the state of Georgia. So we have some specific food capabilities to help food manufacturers with their, they have very unique food. Obviously, food safety is critical. We all trust and rely on our food safety systems. We help those manufacturers comply and constantly improve on their food safety components. Supply chain has really grown. The interest in improving and optimizing supply chains, helping companies do a better job of planning on a procurement side, identifying new vendors. We do a lot of what we call supplier scouting activities. So companies are looking, maybe they've only got one source, or something has happened and they're down to a single source for an input. We try to help them identify either other manufacturers out there who are making something, that raw material, that input, or help them identify companies who have the equipment that they could make it, so they can create a relationship and potentially create a win-win, right? If you've got companies who have the means and the equipment, the capability, that's the way they could expand to serve that manufacturer. So we support, so a lot of industrial engineering work goes on in the operational excellence group. Plant layouts, those are fun. Companies are moving from one site to another. It's an opportunity for them to optimize the flow and the value stream. And so we do things, a whole varied set of industrial engineering activities in the operational excellence arm. I think the folks in the picture there, they're doing a planning activity. It's probably probably a Kaizen event. They're probably focused on, it looks like they've got a process, some sort of a process map, maybe a swim lane map. They're doing some thinking through the process in the room before they go out and try some we call it try storm. Go try some things to see if you can make some improvements on the line. In the operational excellence arm, I'll share a link later where you can go and read about some of our success stories. We have a number of success stories on our website. A recent one was at South Georgia Pecan. They're one of the largest pecan processors in the country. They actually also have a facility in El Paso, Texas. I had no idea there were pecans in El Paso. I've been through El Paso. I don't know where the pecan trees are, but they're processing them there. So, but South Georgia Pecan down in Valdosta, another large city, large metropolitan area in South Georgia. So a lot of industry around that area. A lot of it is around the food industry and agricultural industry, but we help South Georgia Pecan actually implement, I mentioned this, Managing for Daily Improvement. Some of the stuff we do is very low tech. We do some high tech things. We help, we're helping companies figure out how they can leverage AI, generative AI to improve processes and things like that. We help companies with technology and implementations. A lot of what we do is just help companies solve problems, rationalize on the plant floor. How do they get organized? How do they plan? How do they schedule? How do they just solve problems? And South Georgia pecan, that was one of the things they were having trouble. They were having a lot of turnover. There was a lot of frustration. They were having quality issues. Problems weren't being solved, those kind of things. And with the help of some of our operational excellence project managers, they implemented a managing for daily improvement process, among a few other improvements. And they were able to improve their communication, their planning. They had a dramatic reduction in rework and errors that caused wasted product in the plant, in the operations. And they were able to achieve a few things. So one, people stopped leaving once they realized, like, the managing for daily improvement process is actually about engaging the entire workforce. We've got the line workers, we've got managers, we've got supervisors all coming together for a few minutes every day to actually engage and get on the same page. Have a clear idea of what the scoreboard is. How are we doing? What problems do we need to address, and how have we addressed the last problems we identified? And sort of an ongoing problem-solving effort. It created a lot of engagement, helped build morale. It also brought a lot of problems to the surface that they could actually then go solve. And they also worked on developing the skill sets to solve those problems and leverage some lean manufacturing concepts, process improvement concepts to apply those and create solutions on the plant floor. So some of the improvements, this isn't everything, but some of the improvements they had is about a 50% turnover reduction year on year. And identified $500,000, which is a lot, in a small manufacturer. $500,000 is a big chunk of change, annual cost savings from improved quality. And that's, a big part of that was getting the voice of the employee involved in the conversation so that they could see where the problems were happening and then go about improving them. So, and they also made improvements in safety, which, we all want a safe workplace.
So how do they convince the
how do they convince the employees of, like, hey, please stay at this place, I don't want you to quit? It's always the mindset's like, oh,
yeah.
I don't want to come, I don't want to work here anymore.
Yeah.
How you change that mentality?
Yeah, it is. It's a process, but I think the big part of it here is, what we see in the workforce is people don't leave for a quarter or 50 cents or $1 an hour. They really leave because they don't like their supervisor or they don't like the environment. They're not being listened to. It's confusing. They don't know day to day or hour to hour what the goal is. What's the target? What are we after? If you work in a chaotic, confusing environment, that can be very frustrating. That will drive you to go find something else to do if you don't feel like you're in control. And so some of these simple systems, like managing for daily improvement boards, the idea is let's engage that worker so they feel valued, they feel listened to. Also, they are the subject matter expert. They're the one who's actually operating that machine, and they know why they have to hit it 2 times on this side and shift it this way. They know what problems are happening. And so they may not know how to solve them immediately, but having them bring those to the fore, be listened to, and then having those managers engaged and actually going about working with them to solve problems creates a lot of goodwill. It creates an environment where people feel respected, and that definitely promotes lower turnover. So you can't guarantee it, but it gives you a better chance of holding on to those employees. So were you going to ask a question?
I was just going to reiterate your point, which is maybe not in the larger companies like the Southern Georgia Pecan, but in a lot of the smaller companies, it's growth, and you're worried about growing, and you haven't put in place structure,
Yeah.
processes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it can be very chaotic. And
Yes.
so, and what ends up happening is a lot of the employees have become disenchanted.
Yes.
They're not being listened to. They're like you were saying. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow when they show up for work.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Very frustrating, yeah. Well, we say, and I'm I did not originate this quote. I think probably comes from one of the founders of Lean, but Toyota Kaizen. But where there's no standard, there can be no improvement. And so a lot of the work we do is to help companies implement and develop standards where maybe they have either lost their way or where they haven't done it yet. They've grown. They were 10 people when they started and all of a sudden there's 50. That's a different organization that needs different level of management support, needs a different level of structure. Maybe they don't need ISO 9001 level kind of standardization, but they certainly could use, like we shared, some sort of daily metric board, something that's easy to use, leverage, is right-sizing the solution. So we do a lot of that. We're not trying to bring the solution that we would bring to a larger manufacturer that employs 10, 20,000 people. We're not bringing that same kind of solution to our companies that have 50 employees. We're trying to bring solutions that are right-sized, help solve the problems they actually have, and create better work environments. So, ultimately create better results for the company, which is a productive cycle, right? They do better, the employees will do better. Another one of our groups, we do work in strategy, leadership, and technology. So we help companies on both the C-suite side or the leadership side, help develop leadership skills. That's a big demand area right now. I think as we're seeing a generational change, a lot of folks retiring from the industry, there's a knowledge gap, there's an experience gap, and a lot of manufacturers are really scrambling to, not scrambling, they're looking for ways to develop the next generation of leaders, develop the folks that they have on site to take over that leadership helm. And so we've seen a lot of interest in leadership development courses. We have a great team that goes all across the state, helps companies, helps identify what their needs are. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Bring specific kind of leadership development topics to those companies, and does a lot of interactive engagement. There's training, but then there's also, what are we going to do with it, right? How do we implement this? How do we go about practical implementation of the skills they're learning? The strategic planning side, we work with a lot of companies to develop strategic plans, right? They may have, I don't know if you've worked anywhere that doesn't have a strategic plan or it doesn't feel like they do, but a lot of smaller manufacturers, again, as they're growing and scaling up, the complexity of what they're doing, what they're aiming for is changing. They need help developing, expanding, evolving their strategic thinking and their strategic efforts. On the technology side, we do a lot of technology road mapping, helping companies who are looking to make investments in the next level of technology, whether it's automation or whether it's robotics, cobots, whether it's AI, whether they're looking to deploy sensors, Industry 4.0 kind of tools and thinking. We have a team of project managers that can help them put a plan together. So we help companies who are looking to advance technology. A lot of times our smaller manufacturers may have a lot of legacy equipment, older equipment. The case study, actually, one of the case studies we can share here, Trenton Pressing, they're in Trenton, Georgia, which is northwest Georgia. This was a company that had a lot of older legacy equipment. A new ownership group came in and they wanted to make some process improvements, but they also recognized they needed to make some technological improvements that they were going to be competitive, actually make a profit, and continue to do the great work. They're employing employ over 200 people there in Trenton. Our team of experts was able to help them put a roadmap together, help them implement a manufacturing execution system, implement some sensors and technologies, and this was over, I think, about a 1.5 year period. Implement some sensoring so that they could actually begin to monitor their equipment better. They could get ahead of failures, so instead of large downtimes where they had equipment failures, they were able to see that in advance and plan, do more predictive and planned maintenance. They were able to increase their, how many people are familiar with OEE? Yeah, okay, yeah. They improved their, help me OEE is
Operational.
equipment effectiveness, right? Yes. And OEE, so operational equipment effectiveness, it's a good measure of how well you're utilizing your equipment. They increased their overall OEE by 40%, which was a big jump in a short period of time by adding, one, they didn't know how they were using it before because they weren't really measuring it, right? And so it helped them reduce the number of shifts they're operating on, which actually helps, probably helps with turnover. People don't want to work those second and third shifts as much as they want to work the first shift, right? And so they were able to reduce shifts, increase productivity. We also helped them identify a new business partner as well, just because we were working in so many places. They had identified a need for they were looking for customers with that they could do more custom work with. And at the same time, we were working with someone who needed a manufacturer to expand their product, and we were able to do a sort of a meet cute manufacturing style for those companies. So, but implementing technology with small manufacturers is a big part of what we do. The group I'm managing now is the Energy and Sustainability Services team. We help companies on the input side. So we think about what goes into the manufacturing process. We've got energy, you've got materials, and you've got labor. And that's where we work. We help companies. There are compliance requirements around that, right? You've got particularly around materials, around labor. There's management system goals and standards. Companies are looking to implement ISO 14, ISO 50,000, et cetera, for quality systems and energy systems and environmental systems. We help them with that, but we also just help with fundamental problem solving. We are trying to help companies better utilize their resources to create, to both lower costs, but also improve the overall environment, so they can do a better job sustaining and utilizing those resources in the most effective ways. So we help companies through energy evaluations, environmental and safety compliance audits. We help companies implement plans around that, safety system plans. Help a lot of companies who are looking to meet things like the ISO 14001 or ISO 50001 standards. My group is somewhat unique in that our group, the Energy and Sustainability Services team, is unique in that we do actually have a lot of large national customers. I won't say most of our customers are large, but we do. I won't name names, but Georgia Tech was critical. A predecessor before me, well before me, was key in helping Georgia Tech be a leader in the energy management system area. And so for a long time, Georgia Tech has been sort of a place where large companies have come to learn about energy and sustainability. And that's translated really well for us because we've been able to learn a lot by working with these manufacturers that we can help apply for smaller companies, but we do actually work with a lot of larger national firms as well. So yeah, go ahead, please.
Could you give an example or multiple examples of energy assessments and what changed at the companies as a result of those assessments?
Yes, absolutely. I can give one right here. Yeah, I am, remember I am an industrial engineer, right? I work with data and numbers, but the team, I actually have worked in the safety space. I'm not an absolute energy expert, but on my team we do have energy experts. And yeah, in the Industrial Assessment Center or energy assessments that we do a lot of, there's a lot of pre-work before they ever show up at the site. They want to look at energy bills. They want equipment lists. They're going to identify, a lot of times they'll have companies list what they think are the biggest energy users in their operations. And it's not, and this is an example, one of those places where they thought it was one thing, but it turned out to be something completely different. They thought it was, I think, their injection molding equipment, but it turned out to be their chiller system was very inefficient. And so we help companies identify those big energy users and then develop strategies to optimize that equipment. Or even update, sometimes making recommendations to transition to different types of equipment or technology. So in this case, the company here, Piolax, that's in Canton, They had a multi-stage chiller system that wasn't optimized. Our energy experts were able to help them identify that and then help them come up with a game plan to sort of incrementally make improvements, test it, make sure it didn't affect the process in any negative way, and help them implement some sensors to better track and to better track the utilization. Overall, it helped them save about $49,000 a year, which nice little chunk from energy. Just a bill you're paying every month. You're paying the electricity or gas or whatever, water, whatever it may be. So it's a huge utility savings for these companies, and it's not having, you're paying less on the input, but you're still getting the output you were getting on the other side. So that's one example. We have helped companies identify how they could transition to solar or use solar in an effective way with a relatively quick ROI. We see a lot of companies that maybe aren't utilizing, there's heat in the system that they're not tapping into to recirculate through their processes, things like that. Forgive me, I did make an A in thermodynamics, but that was a long time ago, and so not my field. But yeah, we do about 30 energy assessments a year through one of our programs, and the ROI is usually outstanding. We're identifying 5-figure, 6-figure improvements that often have a very small incremental investment on the back end. So.
What's the cost to the client or what criteria do they need to meet to take advantage of your services?
It depends. Yeah, it depends. Yeah. Well, for our energy assessment, it could be nothing. We've had a Department of Energy grant, a legacy grant, the Industrial Assessment Center program through the Department of Energy. It's now called the Industrial Training and Assessment Center program. Through that, if you, I think your energy spend has to be over $100,000 a year, and under a certain amount, that would be. So we're trying to hit those companies that are usually about 100 employees to 500 employees. So not the really big companies that already have the money, they don't need the free assessment, but also not companies that are so small that we're not going to be able to make a big gain for them. But that can be free. So we have some programs like that. They're very specific, where we're leveraging a federal grant, and we can do those services for free. For our general projects, where we go out, we meet a manufacturer, identify a problem. If we set up a consulting project, it depends on the size of the company. So we leverage, again, our federal grant from the Department of Commerce. We use that to subsidize our pricing. The smallest companies get the lowest cost. The larger companies pay a little more. Everybody's paying below market, really, in our space, the small manufacturers. So, yeah. So it's very affordable. I'd say, on the low end, well, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to throw pricing out, but it's affordable, and we do a lot of investment. We're really not collecting all the time. It is sort of a private-public partnership when we engage with a private manufacturer. They're making an investment. It's important that they make an investment in our time and effort, because that means they're going to be more committed to making a commitment. But on our side, we're trying to make it as cost-effective as possible and make sure any of our fees aren't a burden or aren't a barrier for them to implement. So, and our region managers who are placed all around the state, they don't charge anything for their time to come and talk with the client to help them understand what their needs or challenges are. They're local manufacturing experts, so that's already, covered. So there's a number of free services we have, a lot of low-cost services we have after that, and then there's some training, public education, those kind of things that we do, or public training that we do in Atlanta. So y'all are going to kick me out in a little bit, I'm sure, but we have a few ways we engage with the public. You asked about how do we meet all the manufacturers. We have a lot of events around the state in the regions where we're developing. We hold events like manufacturing growth meetings, every quarter in our 10 regions, or at least our rural regions around the state. So we're routinely meeting with manufacturers in the places where they are. We're coming to them. We're not making them come to Atlanta. We hold, so those are the manufacturing growth meetings are sort of like lunch and learn events. We have advanced manufacturing consortiums where we have companies who've said they want to be on a journey to be better, process improvement, technology implementation, workforce advancement, whatever it may be. We're engaging those companies in what I would call, it's consortium, but it's sort of like a cohort model. They come together to learn from one another. They do a lot of benchmarking. They get a lot of guidance from the regional manager. There's a lot of best practice sharing that goes on in those groups. So we're bringing manufacturers together. And then we also do CEO roundtables. That's a support for owners and C-suite folk from individuals from small manufacturers. I would probably call this sort of like small manufacturing CEO therapy. They get together. They can't tell you about all the problems they can't tell their workforce the kind of problems and challenges they may be facing as leaders of small manufacturing firms. But they can get together with other leaders of manufacturing firms and share those issues. And so we have some of our leadership development, C-suite development folks, project managers, will come and we'll lead some facilitated roundtable events for manufacturing leaders in every region. So I think I shared the manufacturing growth meetings. Said those operate just like a lunch and learn event. We get to meet a lot of manufacturers that way. It's a good way for manufacturers to meet one another as well. It's a great social networking kind of event where they get together and get to know one another, as well as hear from a top-notch speaker on a given topic. Some of the topics we've covered there, these are just some very recent ones. One of my project managers on my team has led a talk called Beyond Waste, sort of how you can leverage lean thinking to improve environmental, to get gains, business process improvements through environmental, through focusing on environmental improvement efforts. Mastering inventory management, that's born out of our supply chain efforts. Working smarter, not harder. Project manager talking about how small firms can leverage generative AI in ways to really solve problems, address non-value added activities in their firms. So topics like this to get people out, get people talking, and hopefully share some best practice information. Our consortiums, again, that's companies coming together to learn from one another.
How often do you do these sessions?
Yeah, the manufacturing growth meetings are roughly quarterly in each region. So if in Northeast Georgia, we may do 4 a year, 3 or 4 a year. And we do a lot more than that in total because there are 10 regions. So, so they're ongoing. And you can actually see the list on our website, on our events page on our website. They're published in advance, and you are welcome to attend any of those events. Yes?
My question, how would you like to get your hands on the Georgia K through 12 education manufacturing system?
Yeah, we do play, we don't work a lot in that space. We're working with existing manufacturers, but we do try to get involved where we can when manufacturers ask us to come and to do events where they're doing STEM events or learning events, trying to get people interested in manufacturing. That is a challenge, in terms of its getting kids interested and engaged in the manufacturing industry very early on. So we do play in that space a little bit. Try to be a good partner, and good neighbor in all of our regions across the state. So just a few programs of interest, and I'll wrap up here. I mentioned our Industrial Assessment Center. We do things like no-cost energy assessments. Our experts are very interested in often going out, finding grants or awards that they can leverage to bring important and valued services to manufacturers here in the state of Georgia. And so we have some folks who've gone out and gotten some funding from the EPA to lead sustainability cohort That's a program. I think we're in the third year of that program. We bring manufacturers together to do a long-term, it's really a 12-month program to help them identify ways they can better leverage their materials, their energy and resources to create positive business outcomes. How can they lower costs? How can they identify ways to improve processes that will promote expanded productivity, etc. Our food safety expert, they have identified some funding to help really small manufacturers get compliant with the Food Safety Modernization Act, and so they're doing that training on a routine basis. A really exciting program we've gotten engaged with here lately, and you see the picture, and there's a great video on our website you can watch, but in Northwest Georgia, we had an opportunity to, and we're expanding that opportunity, but had an opportunity to work with we call second chance workers, nonviolent offenders who are about to be released. They're sort of in their last little stint. They've served their time. Many of them have had maybe had drug issues, whatever it may be, but they're about to be released. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to work? What kind of, how are they going to make a positive impact for their communities? And we've had some interest. Polk County actually had invited us in. We had a conversation with them and created a training program that we piloted in Polk County Jail, where we helped, had about 10 participants in the initial program, help these folks go through a training program, and they were selected. These were obviously folks who had identified, one said they wanted training and they were interested in working in manufacturing. They had excellent records while they were in jail, and brought them through a manufacturing training program. So manufacturing awareness. They got some training on quality. They got some training on workplace safety. They got training on some of the tools, measuring systems, how to use a caliper. I did a review session on mathematics, like dividing fractions, all kinds of decimal math, kind of math, reading blueprints, that kind of thing. They were, and in the process where we were working with local manufacturers who are facing a workforce challenge. They need workers from every source they can find. And working with these folks, the connection was we were going to help with the training, but we're also going to introduce them to some manufacturers in the region. And those manufacturers were very interested in bringing them in, employing them, and helping them become productive members of their community. And again, I mentioned early on how important manufacturing jobs are. Manufacturing jobs pay well. They have benefits. They're fairly stable. And so it's a really good partnership. Polk County, we had, these were 3 of our graduates from that program who are now employed in the region at manufacturers. And we're trying to help play our part in reducing or promoting, a reduction of recidivism. We want to end the cycle, right? They've gone through, they've made some mistakes. They're going back out. Our manufacturers need workers. These guys need a job. What can we do to help? And it's just a different way and a different angle at how we're helping manufacturers in some parts of the state. I tell you, it was a real pleasure working in this program, and like I said, I had a chance to do some of the review sessions, and we've got a team of 4 or 5 of us who are sort of interested in this. And the gentleman on the left, John Zegers, he's the region manager in Northwest Georgia, and he's been really committed to workforce development, both from our high school programs, but now also through second chance worker programs, and looking at other places, where can the manufacturing workforce come from, and what do we need to do to help not only promote the workforce piece, but promote better communities wherever we're working at. So how can the manufacturers play a role in that? So we do a whole variety of things with 50 people every year. It's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding. It's a great industry to be in. Love manufacturing. I wholeheartedly believe in manufacturing as a transformative thing. As I said, it promotes. It provides good jobs. It has an impact on local communities. And so I think a lot of the folks who work in our group have a missional mindset. We could all be working somewhere else, making more money at a large corporation, but we love working with these small companies. We love the direct access we get, the kind of impact we can make. So there are a lot of people at Georgia Tech and Manufacturing Extension Program that they really care. And so that makes it a great place to work too, because I know I go to work with a lot of people who really care. They care about their communities, they care about the manufacturing, of course, but they care about their communities and they care about their state. And so that's why we keep doing what we do. As I said, I feel like this program is probably one of the programs at Tech that just really best exemplifies the motto, progress and service. So it's an honor to work there. So. But hopefully if you didn't know about the program before, you know a little more now. I'll share the presentation. Feel free to, I don't know if you email this out, but there's some links in the presentation to some of these case studies. We have all kinds of case studies. We got a lot of videos, things you can learn about the program, and if you want to share it with others, we'd be grateful for that. So, any other questions?
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Have a relationship or interaction, cooperation with the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance?
We have a strong relationship with the Georgia Association of Manufacturers, for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance, but we partner with. If an organization is promoting manufacturing, that's great. We're for it. And we're always looking for, we work across the state with a lot of economic development organizations, chambers of commerce. There's some very topical groups, you know, different nonprofits interested in different aspects of the economy. But yeah, the more the merrier in accomplishing the goal of creating a healthy, vibrant economy here in the state of Georgia. So, but no, I don't think we work directly with GMA. Thank you.
On behalf of the chapter here, we'd like to present you with a small token.
All right.
Appreciation.
Thank you very much. Love that. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me today. It's been an honor. It's a privilege to get a chance to talk to all of you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation given at one of the Atlanta Metro Chapter meetings of the Georgia Society of Professional Engineers, an affiliate of the National Society of Professional Engineers. To find out more about us or to join us, check us out at GSPE.org.